Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fallout New Vegas. We're doing one of the DLCs, although I'm not really sure I can even name which DLC we're in. We came across this door to X12. We right now don't have a quest that actually says to go to X12. We have several quests on the main story to go to other locations, so anything starting X, I assume, is supposed to be a big deal. And yeah. One thing I noticed when I was looking back at the playback is that there was a trauma override harness character. Here, V17 trauma override harness. It's straight up the harness that is running at you and will revive even if you've knocked it down. There's not a living human being inside the equipment, which is an interesting twist, certainly. So yeah, there's no telling how big this area is going to be, or generally just how large anything is going to happen here. See, we have some text here, which I may very well not read any of the text in this DLC, as I have mostly not read most of the text in most of the other locations. My assumption is the X's here are close to the equivalent of vaults, although I think we might be learning a lesson here fairly quickly that everything is just going to be blocked by shields, and so I can't go any further with this. I will take tin cans, as I am picking up just a ridiculous amount of everything, but I won't take bent tin cans until we get a recipe that lets us craft with bent tin cans. And let's just make sure we searched everything on this one surface. So, yeah. So we've learned a lesson here to not bother going to places we don't have on our map if they have an X in it. Instead, we're going to just run this way to X22 Botanical Garden, which also would be our next step. Now, the game itself did tell me to just rush and finish the quest that the quest givers gave me. We are now over encumbered, and that adds a significant higher amount of potential difficulty in that we don't have any companions. So I am going to very quickly have to start to decide what can be sold and what can't be sold. Sunset sarsaparillas, I think we can just drink, and that'll give us caps. This is a very science-centric themed game. I'm not sure if the actual gameplay, though, is actually going to be that science-centric. It does feel like there's a level of verticality in design here. Are there mines inside the pipes, or did I just trigger a mine on top of a pipe or below a pipe? Yeah. I'm not sure. The verticality, though, of this plays much better if this was a proper run and gun game, since it is not a run and gun game. you're just being given an option to play certain ways, less than you really need to. It definitely seems interesting. Just electric boxes. It definitely seems like the random enemy spawn is going to be a lot higher in this smaller map to try and balance things out, and I think that works out. It's going to work out fairly well. Although I do kind of feel like I am potentially just going to end up using this electric gun over and over again, trying to maybe complete a challenge that may not even exist. I think with the high amount of crafting, we just got recipes, barter skill book, and auto dock upgrade, hairstyling enhancements. So I guess that's what we really are looking for, is more of those things. Just these holotapes all over the place. I don't know if a lot of these areas are just places to duck in and do some crafting. Eddie would be super helpful in this section if he was allowed to be here, because then I could craft at any spot. And still is a lot of vendor trash even amongst everything else, and at best you're going to find a crafting table, I suspect. You're probably not going to find a cooking section where you could a campfire. Which definitely do feel like it would have been better if they had just merged campfires and cooking and
my aggression is increasing geometrically. Do you hear me, think tank?
It seems like every time you come out of an area you are getting a bit of audio. So it wants me to go this direction to the botanical garden, which seems like it would be a far way down. So effectively these guys are just taking pot shots at me. And that's pretty much all I can do too. The other thought would be to just use this gun. Maybe this gun with some different ammo. Let's see. Special rounds. It just doesn't really work. And so maybe it is better as a general concept to just wait till these things can get closer to you and and then shoot them with your sonic gun. I would say this feels like you're getting a little too far from what the rest of your experience would be. Here we've got plants. I would say I do think we have a case here where the enemies are at least somewhat leveled up. So being over encumbered, pushing forward, we would be making some progress if the game wasn't crashing. Give it a second, and yep, it has fully crashed to desktop, which means I will be back when I walked out of the door, which is not too far from where I was. For a while there, I was thinking maybe we'd gotten out of the messiest parts of New Vegas, because I did manage to go, it feels like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, so maybe 5 or 6 hours without an actual crash. But now we are back to it crashing fairly consistently in every hour or 2. And certainly this DLC does not really play into this load screen. There was really no point in the main story where you really would have put that trooper armor on and used it. And apparently when you load, you also have to swap the bullets out. It definitely feels like the game is just having you hear more music in the background than you normally would hear, or it feels like you normally would hear. Which at some point probably means I should just turn off the background music in fear of a copyright content ID claim on YouTube. Again, I question whether these things are audio related as far as a lot of the as far as the sound effects causing crashes. You can see there is a helmet. I guess Mr. Gusty flew close enough so we can go ahead and kill it. It really feels like this might be a place to pick up some items. Interesting. I managed to be exactly halfway between the 2 locations. So let's go this way. I guess the good news is I can decide to walk against the wall. And that will just fast travel me back to the central location. There is certainly an evolution I guess you can have in games by having levels of verticality. So that mine was on top of the pipe. Because you can just have enemies down here that won't really be able to hit you much. You can cram a lot more enemies into the same square footage and not linearly affect the challenge as much. I definitely feel like I need to kill probably 10 things. Yeah. That's my thought, is I probably need to kill about 10 things with the energy weapons, and then if I don't see 10 things being killed, any kind of challenge popping up in the top left.
To reach the big mountain force fields. Doing so could allow dangerous ideas and or creatures having those ideas to escape.
A lot of Brock flowers. A lot of Xander roots. I'm clearly going to have a quest at some point to pick up all the seeds. This might just be a location here that is blocked by something. Let's check the map. Nope, it just happens to be in that general direction, so we'll go around. Which means we'll go down. How's our fall damage, I suppose? Would be a question to ask. And if I fall down, am I going to find out that the location I'm trying to reach is actually higher? I wouldn't be surprised if the location I'm trying to reach is actually higher. Still have a day-night cycle. I don't know if there's really a lot of value in that for Fallout games. No, I do know there isn't a lot of value in that. Spore plants running around on legs. Wasn't expecting that one. So this is the X-22 Botanical Garden. That's what we were looking for. A certain level. These are the characters we saw at Vault 22. Kill more energy enemies with energy weapons. We've done like 48 with of 64, so there is an argument to continue to use energy weapons. Kill more abominations. So what I suspect the move here is, so that's what mutant cave fungus looks like. There may have been a lot more of that in the overworld in the main game than I realized. So this might be a fast travel location specifically designed for you to go and craft up some food. crippling creatures doesn't seem like that's paying off anything. Apparently I'm in combat.
We are reading increased levels of electricity and securitrons from the deconstruction plant.
I wonder if we see it's Mr. Gusty Mark IV, Mr. Gusty Mark V. I wonder if these are getting stronger every time I kill one. If that is the case, it'd be interesting. It'd be a completely different playstyle from what we have seen otherwise. Apparently I'm still in combat somewhere. I also have a concern that there's a collectible item somewhere else. I'm gonna slowly run out of bullets. Okay, my hope is that we have cleared the area, and the sound effects I'm hearing are just from one of these two. The game glitching. Like, I don't see anything around here. Okay. So we can create Night Stalker squeezings. Never heard of that one. We can make dog steak. We can make healing powder. It definitely gives the feeling like they would plan on you using healing powder. Okay. There's two things. Either I go to this research center over encumbered, or I just walk to the fence completely. There was a lot of stuff we collected here, and none of it seems to really have played towards actually getting the crafting things I would have thought we would have gotten. I may die if I fall down here, but let's just see. Nope. I guess we have been reinforced. This does, though, also, I think, highlight an issue where they say if you walk into the shield, you would automatically be spawned. Well, it really doesn't work that way when it looks like most of the shield has been blocked off by rocks on this side. So I've talked about the concept of a walk and talk. That's obviously a thing that should be in games much more often than the stop and read, that old way of doing things. But there's another concept in the walk and sort.
Remember the time you forgot to carry the two and nearly blew up the Y Zero Research Center? Oh, wait, you did! Or was that me?
Yeah. Would really appreciate being able to, can't crawl in there, interesting, not quite big enough to just walk and sort items in inventory, but I can't be in the menu and set the character to travel to a location, just make an auto path pathfinding. Actually, pathfinding is something that it only in the past 20 years, I would say at most, has it finally gotten decent enough that you can actually do it. It's more complicated math than it would seem, particularly when you have extremely complicated surfaces. And mostly, pathfinding in games is probably optimized in the sense that you're not having the computer actually find how to get from point A to point B. You're having it find how to get to a midpoint that is mapped out, a train track effectively. And so if you can get the character to get on the track, then the pre-rendered, pre-calculated tracks, I guess it would be pre-calculated would be the right word. A pre-calculated track would lead to a smooth process. But the science behind it doesn't really matter as much. Here's a big book of science. Do I even have a stat on science that's below 100 though? I don't think I do. Yeah, science is already 100, so having a big book of science is worthless to me. I might as well sell it for caps. Yeah. If I could, for instance, if the game did have a pathfinding where it said there's an invisible track path to have you, I guess maybe I should just walk to this section too. But yeah, if I could just say walk here, and then while I'm walking here I could come into the menu and go through all the miscellaneous stuff that is undoubtedly burdening me and overburdening me. That would be very helpful. Of course, if you could just drop junk or not pick up junk, blacklist even specific items, that would be helpful too. Let's see. Try and keep things that are weightless or that have elements to them. We have a bunch of dried foods. Not sure why I would have dried food. And then empty Nuka-Cola, empty Sunset Sarsaparilla, empty syringes, all of which would be useful if I was going to try and make Sunset Sarsaparillas and Nuka-Colas. But at a bigger scale, they are absolutely not useful. See, that's just a very small amount of stuff to drop, relatively speaking. It's a lot of stuff to have just in one location. And here we have a terminal, which we'll pretend like we're reading. I would assume we can't get through that door. I'd kind of assume that maybe there's no way into this building, or that it's going to be complicated. Here's a stim pack, here's a stim pack. There's another recipe. Immediately over encumbered again. I don't think the ghouls with their little cult would have ended up here. While I did think that this was going to involve aliens, it seems like they've decided to go in a slightly different direction and go with a mad scientist trope instead of aliens. So I suspect we may still see aliens somewhere, but maybe not. And then we're heading to, I guess, the Forbidden Zone. And the real penalty here is just being over encumbered. Like, I really don't feel like I'm going to be in any real danger unless they start throwing some kind of special versions of robots that are really strong, or maybe they were going to throw some kind of special versions of Death Claws. This will be the first major section of gameplay, though, where I am specifically playing it just by myself. It might very well be a case that this game is planning on upgrading the sonic gun, so fighting this now might be a mistake. I was expecting the robotic rad scorpions to be a little bit less robotic. I was thinking it would be mostly a rad scorpion with robotic attachments, not complete robot. First of all, problem with this is, was that the entirety of the challenge? Was that just the first of many waves of enemies? Again, I may very well just find that there's a shield that I can't pass. X42 Forbidden Zone. Definitely feels like something. Forbidden Dome entrance. I am realizing you can't just hold down the trigger. Probably would be nice if we could. I wish there was just enough room to take the perk where you could fast travel while being over encumbered, but there just isn't. Wow, I almost died there. So this is the Forbidden Zone dome entrance. And it requires a key. Cannot fast travel when enemies are nearby. So I guess I'm still just curving around this direction. This is giving me some locations to fast travel to. And it is interesting, certainly, that there's a robot over there. He's gonna have to come to me if I'm gonna fight him. Kind of doing an amazing job. Interesting that those crates aren't searchable when so many others are. Of having different areas. Like, this definitely looks and feels very different from the sections we've otherwise seen, and it feels, frankly, more like the Mojave Desert with the rail tracks. I'm not sure if they're exploding because I'm shooting them extra, or if they're exploding just because they explode once they're defeated. I'm out of stim packs at this point. So what can we do otherwise? We can hotkey, I guess, healing powder, which would reduce our perception. We can drink an ice cold Nuka-Cola and see how well that works. And I think at this point we've got to go with something else. A sonic gun. Let's see, this one. And we may just have to rely a lot heavier on throwing good bullets. I do have the halo thing on my head that would slowly heal me. But yeah, I definitely think we tried to play it like you would if you had absolutely nothing. You would never really have absolutely nothing as far as equipment, because this recommends level 15, so unless you were speedrunning the game and intentionally starting this with very, very weak equipment, what you bring in is highly likely to be better than what you put out, or what you're gonna pick up for a while. I think the Brain Trust may have been right about just doing their quest first to upgrade at least the sonic gun. And so I think that will, I mean, that basically has to be what we do. There's not any other quests. Being over encumbered makes it way more difficult to do something simplistic like just walking to a metal box. I may literally not have a way to get back up. Simple jump would get me there, but being over encumbered. I'm not sure I can make Bethesda crawl. Okay. Do we have anything that's super heavy? We need to lose about 40 pounds. Yeah, drop the vacuum cleaner, that's 10 pounds. Toy car. Drop the tin cans. Shot glass. Scrap electronics or scrap metal. I think you want to get rid of scrap metal. So, yeah. I kinda don't think there's too much else here. Drop a doctor's bag, I guess. Drop some dog steak. Right, that got me close. It got me low enough to not be over encumbered, so that I can jump up to get to the spot. I'm just gonna have to be extremely careful about what I pick up. Otherwise, and here we have just missed the big mountain north tunnel completely, and we are in a completely different place from where I was expecting. We're approaching something called a loading station, or the loading station. And here you have United States of America. What is attacking me? Looks like a lobotomite with some kind of axe. Proton axe. Interesting. What I don't get is I see 1% chance of hitting somebody, and there we got a misfortune. And I guess I need to turn the kill cams back on to see misfortune actually do her thing. I guess that's probably cinematic kill cams. We might as well turn it on. We weren't getting a lot by having it turned off. Now what would kind of suck here is if it turns out that misfortune makes the body disappear, so you can't get any of the resources from somebody that she kills. I'm gonna run out of bullets for this gun fairly quickly. I'd like to just run into the fence. This is a rather small area, so I'm actually rather shocked that I am getting turned around as much as I am. we are here, and it would be quite a distance to go here and here. It would be almost as easy to just walk back to that spot. Which is probably what I'm going to have to do anyways. So it seems pretty obvious that they gave you the spineless perk so that you could carry items and more items, but they really didn't address the core issue, which is that it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have several hundred more enemies, items that you would pick up, even with your strength at the highest level. So this whole section here is just more railroad looking. I suppose it does make some sense that you would also allow the characters to change its appearance through DLC, allow the player to change their appearance. That's a very cinematic death. I don't think you'll get misfortunes unless you use bats. But yeah, this hovering head halo just wouldn't make any sense if you couldn't see your head. Scrap electronics, scrap electronics. Here we have Securitron that's dead. Thought maybe we were gonna fix it, but on second thought, looks like what's gonna happen is we're gonna disintegrate it. Which, if there was a system here to disintegrate things into baser elements, that would be intriguing. I am not sure what that was supposed to spell originally. And healing powder is healing me incredibly slowly. I am going to straight up die if I'm not careful in the next couple of encounters. Healing powder takes an incredibly long amount of time. This is letting me accomplish some quests as far as killing robot enemies.
Then sting said intelligence. Yes, sting it.
Here you can see what looks like the beginnings of parts of a giant robo-scorpion to be assembled at some point in the future. Alright. You could also go down this way and check out the hazmat testing ground, but I don't see a real reason to do that. I imagine you're not going to be able to search the Robo-Scorpion. If you did craft a giant Robo-Scorpion like this, it's going to be fairly limited in its movement. It kind of feels like, as we're now seeing more of this map, that the same idea that existed in most Bethesda games, as far as just having a lot of stuff in a very small amount of square footage, has been applied, but it has been applied with a different style. Like, every single one of this environmental layout things creates a vector in which you can either see or not see an enemy approaching and shoot at, whereas going into an abandoned house in the main game and finding a random placement of unimportant items just doesn't help the experience. Here, there's a reason, it at least feels like, to walk to each place and pick up each item. It definitely feels like this is breadcrumbing me to certain locations, or at least just giving me something to do in certain locations. I suppose what would be interesting is if it turns out this entire map is a bit of a hidden object game and we have to find our brain somewhere in all of this. There's a guy way over there. But I also kind of suspect that they're procedurally generated, so it may not really matter. Now here's a danger, certainly. Unless I can just stair step my way up this mountain. I might be in trouble. There you can see I got shot and it left blood on the wall. Those are the kind of things that game developers seem to really be proud of and overemphasize a lot more.
Do not approach the pylons. Pylons are the glowing things. Also, do not approach a fallen pylon. If you see a fallen pylon, call security.
Yeah, I don't think we've really seen any pylons close. And I am about to die. I'd have to assume all my auto stim packs have long since been lost too. No telling why they all have plungers. Definitely feels like there should be more pylons. This is bad because this is bringing us right back to the hazmat testing ground, which I'm not in a position to really engage with that. Do we have anything else? Well, first of all, lower mic goggles. Let's just start with that. So, defense of 3, light. intelligence -2. Lower might jumpsuit. Let's go with that. So that is defense of 4. So we'll put that on. This condition also was in very poor condition. Right, lower might mask. Okay, this would be defense of 3. Lower might mask and goggles. Let's see, that's defense of 5. Patient gown. That would be just defense of 1. And then my goggles to heal that. Then this would be a defense of 2. Defense of 3, health regeneration plus endurance. So that is what we want. Which is more valuable? Lower might jumpsuit at 125, or patient gown at 200. Patient gown is, so we'll get rid of that. Here we have a corrosive glove. Hunting revolver. 100 damage per second. Let's go ahead and equip that. And then let's equip special hand load items. Proton axe could be improved with the shovel. I'm not sure if I need the shovel otherwise. Oh, and we didn't even look at aid. We'll drink bitter drink. Maybe a nice cold Nuka-Cola. But yeah, unless I'm going to start eating mutant cave fungus. I wonder what using... I guess you can't use the NCR emergency radio. So yeah, I wonder if this isn't even playing on very easy. Balanced in a different way. So that you really do have to do cooking. Even if that is the case though, they aren't giving me enough campfires to do cooking in. This is a radioactive place, and my ability to maneuver is still over encumbered. So I think it's probably best to walk away and survive another day. One assumes all of these lobotomites are just people who wandered into this location. Yeah, there's too much instability here to shoot this way. I mean, you could just shoot in a general direction and see if it hits, but it's wavering way too much. And it definitely feels like this is a case where if the goal was to force people to use electric guns, then they should have forced everybody to have just electric guns. And, I don't know, have no guns be held by anybody else. There's effectively a stubbornness you can feel here, where I don't even know what to do now. Yep. I could take slasher, I guess.
Try to leave your dome, think tank, and you will be punished by the pincered might of my Robo-Scorpion army.
Yep. Getting irradiated, trying to eat anything we can actually eat. And there just kind of isn't anything. There we go, we could take buff out, that would increase our strength. We can eat the Brock flowers. That is it. As the entirety of my options. I'm not even gonna run to try and pick up that item, whatever items would be on here. This is what we needed. And I don't think you get a knockback when you get shot, so I think I'm fairly safe to just walk across this pipe over encumbered. But yeah, it feels like to me it should have just been electric guns. And who cares if that means it's less of a role-playing game. You know, it's not a mortal sin to make an RPG game that has a scenario where you force the player to play a different way. If anything, that kind of stuff. I was wondering if maybe that would turn the light off, that you were just supposed to do that for every single light fixture around the dome. But no, doesn't seem like that's the case. Yeah, it can actually be quite the relief if you have a storyline element where you're just forced as the player to play as a thief, to play as an assassin. That way you can still be the good guy in your mind without missing out on gameplay styles. A lot of times when I play these kinds of role-playing games, so the electric box is just a metal box with an electric signal on top of it, often buried in the ground. a lot of times I do feel like I just get kind of hung up on playing via role-playing via the personality and not role-playing based on the experiences. Vending machines are gone. They're still empty. Okay.
You require some additional...
Let's see. Basic physical exam. Heals us up. Doesn't, I think, cost us anything.
You require some additional...
And we now have the haircut mod, which they kept separate. But yeah, if my hairstyle is this, then why does it not really look like that when I'm wearing this helmet? Here you have a pure map. We're trying to... I'm not sure what I collected as far as the item. I know I got a personality file tape for something. I just don't know what. Hey, there's a whole other area now. We have a spine tank. Use your spine without your brainstem, snap to it, here it floats. Your back doesn't feel any different from the spine's removal. If anything, whatever was placed in there makes you feel stronger. Based on the other tanks in the room, you can safely assume this is where your brain would be floating. It's currently missing from both the tank and its proper place in your head. You seem to be doing just fine without it. And I guess this is our heart. Let's see, this is your heart. Apparently cranial surgery, complications require its removal, and until your brain is returned, your heart can't be trusted to keep beating in your body. Your new heart seems to be working just fine, however. So, we know what this room is now. At the moment, let's make some auto-inject stim packs. Let's make a bottle cap 9. Dog hide belts. Overcharged electron cells. Recycling. Satchel charge. I'm not sure what the value of any of these things are because they don't tell you the value. So it could be that things are very valuable. It could be things are very unvaluable. I don't feel like we've gotten a bunch of new items. And there's nothing here to be crafted.
Oh yeah, baby. Feels good to be online again. Yeah, all circuits online, ready to receive your seed.
So this is another odd sex joke personality. So we're gonna process plants.
Ah, baby. I'm all about biology. I'm the original, certified, rarefied, testified GS-2000 biological research station. I'm a seed cloning machine. You got seeds? I will clone the shit out of them. It's the miracle of life, baby. You bring me some succulent genetic samples, and I'll work my mojo on them. Clone you up all kinds of plants. Oh, yeah. I can also break them down for you, if you're into the kinky stuff. Bring me any old plant parts, and I'll grind them up into salient cream for you. Yeah, you like that, don't you, baby?
So if I bring him samples of dried plants, you can clone them and grow them in planters. What's Soylent Green? Let's ask that question. This is a Soylent Green reference.
Just the miracle of life in sticky, gooey liquid form, baby. Heat that gunk up over a campfire and just watch it congeal into all kinds of plants.
Let's see, I'd like to process some plants. Let's go with that.
I love it when you talk like that. Let me just get that interface up and running for you.
So, process seeds into a planter.
With the dulcet tones of a light opera.
So that took dried banana fruit and several other things. But I don't know if I just had those items on me or if I found them. My assumption is that we're just going to have one planter of each plant, and it may just always be available to us, although it may take a while to grow.
Well, hello.
Let's convert some plant matter into Soylent Green, so that's Xander roots, and that gives me 3 Soylent Greens. Interesting, so Xander root is an important
Muggy's
thing.
alright. Not too seedy, but hey, nobody's perfect. Well, hello. It's the I can also you know it.
So I guess maybe he needs more, or I just have to leave the area. With Soylent Green, I can, or Salient Green, I can clone anything I want, but say I was to make a clone pinto bean pod.
Well, hello.
Yeah. Is that labeled as a cloned pinto bean pod, or is it just labeled as a pinto bean pod? It's labeled as just a pinto bean pod. Okay. Let's just take everything out now, and let's start to really play around with this and see what we can make. Let's see. A weapon binding ritual. Heals perception and limb damage, restores limb condition. I'm gonna craft one of those just because I don't think I've ever crafted one before. I'll craft those. Then we'll just see what we can craft otherwise. And now it's time to literally bring out the big guns. Okay. Submachine gun at full values 2,000. 326. I think we can sell that. Annabelle with the rocket launcher. Could we bring out Annabelle with the rocket launcher in this area? I think it might work. A brush gun. at a high value is 4,896. And the other thing would be the cowboy repeater modded, which is significantly less valuable than the brush gun, even though it's modded though, so you don't want to get rid of it. Hunting revolver. So we'll take the pistol out. The grenades. We should probably sell some of these grenades. Satchel charges. Okay. So I think that's about as much as we can do with what we've got. So the jumpsuit combat armor here would be 15 damage threshold. We need to put something like that on. There's no way we're going to survive in the long run. So the real move is to just put on the Remnant's power armor and then give a thought. Patience gun are worth 600, but these Merc Grunt outfits are almost certainly not worth that much. These lobotomite masks are worth 150. Lobotomite goggles are worth 125. So we'll take that. The hockey mask is probably not worth much of anything. Combat reinforced helmet Mark II at 5 for a helmet is also going to be better than anything else they've given me. Okay.
Might I be of service, sir? Very good, sir.
So this is 100 repair skill if we wanted to repair things and spend caps. I don't think there's a reason you'd want
Might
to
I
do
be
that.
of service, sir? Very good.
Right. So we've got some dog steaks that we've sold, and that's about it. So a full 10mm gun can be sold. We'll keep the ball cap mine. We will get rid of the brush gun. And we'll get rid of the frag mine. Plasma grenades. And satchel charges. We'll go ahead and sell the tin grenade. Well, you might as well just use it for what value it has. We have, I don't think, too many items we can sell as far as inventory. Okay. If I was going to buy any bullets, it would be E-cells. Energy cells. So we'll just go ahead and buy those. still going to be quite the shopping experience. Okay, so what I want to do, I guess, is come over here and let's start to think about what is an actual viable weapon. Annabelle with 76 damage on missiles, not really viable. The bottle cap mine I want to keep. The brush gun is not really viable. This damage per second is high, but I don't have enough bullets for it. Not that one, not that one. Its damage is low, but it's something. Get rid of that one. The shovel. This one causes a critical strike paralysis of an HP minus 20. Okay, we'll get rid of this too. 147 10mm bullets versus this one. Just get rid of that too. Meanwhile, guess what we're pretty much doing is dropping off everything. There's nothing to craft, really. Scrap metal could be broken down to lead, or could make nails. So that means everything else in this section should be crafting ingredients, which certainly would be helpful to be able to split all of this up and sort this a lot better. I do think the majority of what I have here, though, is not actually useful. What's really annoying is how much of this splits around to the aid items. Or how many of these things work in exactly one recipe that I'll never have the full items with. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the weapon binding ritual here away. Trail mix here. Get rid of the stealth boy because I don't think we're going to use that. Spore plant pods. Keep that. Pinto bean pods, we'll keep that. I don't know why I'm keeping a doctor's bag. I should just sell that. Big book of science. Nope, we'll just sell that now too. I do have a bunch of auto inject stim packs. I had put them, I guess, in the wrong place.
My Might I be of service?
Okay. I'm definitely not thinking that there's too much money I'm going to get from selling all of this. Yeah, 700, and I gotta keep the sunset sarsaparillas. I just need them. Okay. Sell the ashtrays. Sell the camera. Sell the cigarettes. I guess one thing that's valuable here is because I probably need to keep those. Because the area is fairly small, you do have this possibility that you would only run around the entirety of the map a couple of times. Unlike the main game, where it definitely feels like you could easily be overwhelmed by having to run around the entire world. Notice how the pre-war books don't stack? Probably means something. Not really sure what you should take from it, though. So selling all of that gave me another 1,000. But more importantly, it's gotten my weight down to 85. So we are in, I think, a much better position.
That's careful. Fish.
Yeah. The auto healing is snoring. I may shut off his personality eventually. Okay. So, at the very least, that puts us in a better position now. And that allows us to target this complex without being overburdened. But before I do that, I should make a safety save, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Then I think we'll have a little bit longer of an episode if I do that, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, yeah. I could have just ended the episode early, but I figured I'd like to just... I would like to just finish getting the personality cores so we can do everything in the bedroom. Although, on the face of it, it doesn't really feel like there's going to be too much of that. Interesting. I kind of thought this would be blocked off, and then the blackness down this hole wouldn't matter as much. It is kind of silly for it to not be blocked off. Yeah, it's just an implication that they would like you not to go too close to see that it is just a black hole. I do think what I'm going to very quickly realize, though, is that the minimalized version of this DLC, taking the bigger world and bringing it down to be more focused on science, I think this is going to inherently create a bit of a conflict, and that it's going to become too repetitive too fast. We're going to have just seen everything is my concern. It definitely feels like it's going to fall into a pattern of doing the same things over and over again. I don't think you could make an entire game as big as Fallout New Vegas just in this visual style and in this focus on science. I think it's not quite varied enough. Down we go. All of these lobotomites are holding pointless items. I've recognized that, so that in part has been what has made this a more difficult journey. It's because I've been picking up useless items every time I take all from the lobotomites. And that's something that certainly could be improved upon. Yep. The magnetic hydraulics complex. Is it at the top? Okay. And you just kind of wander around fast enough and it's not even an issue. You'd think maybe these crystals would be something. You would shoot them and that might lead to something, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. This does kind of feel like one of the DLC sections of the Borderlands game where you would have just a few areas that you would wander around and a few quests to take you in those areas, and it was very much a small slice of what the overall game could have been, what the overall game is in Borderlands. Just question whether we're going to have any other conversations with other characters or interesting characters in general, or if it isn't just Mobius and the Brain Trust and nobody else. Microfusion cells, Wonder Glue, and since there's no radiation here, it does make sense to just hold down the A button and drink, which you can do for drinking water, but you can't do for shooting guns or practically anything else. Of course, getting 2 HP for every sip is also a ridiculous small amount of health. This is just a major speed bump in the gameplay experience, so just forget it. So I would imagine this is either a case where this is all one shelf, I guess. Either we're supposed to drain the area, or we're supposed to find a rebreather, or use a rebreather, if we happen to have the rebreather. That is one weird aspect about this game, is that there's a lot of underwater sections that only are accessible if you have the rebreather, which is only accessible, only collectible in one location in the main game. down we go. Let's equip the rebreather. This is just going to make a completely different experience now. Bobby pins. I imagine we won't even find too many locations where there are locked doors, or weirdly you would think there would be more computer terminals that we would run into also. It just doesn't seem like it. Don't think we need to take the toaster. Nobody would spend the energy to swim down here if they didn't have a rebreather. And this implies that there would have been a whole section here if it hadn't been flooded. You know what? I think we've got to pull the music at this point. Yeah. Well, let's just make sure that the game didn't at some point turn on the radio. It did. So let's just turn that off, and then we don't have to turn the music off in the menu, although it would be safer to just turn the music off in the menu. I would assume I'm still going to hear Mobius when they enter the overworld, and that didn't just mute him. I'm fairly certain it was the game that would have turned on that music, though, or the radio station. And yeah, honestly, if I wasn't a content creator, I imagine I would have a much better experience listening to the radio as a way of hiding how dull the gameplay can get at times. Of course, if I'm gonna make that statement, I might as well make the statement that I also would just be listening to a podcast or something on my cell phone at the same time. Okay. And so the quest has moved forward now to a couple of other locations. So it only gives me like 3 at a time. Which I'll be okay with that. 4 bodies and rad scorpions all over this place, and seems to me like that has been adjusted. So do we want to take the north tunnel? Yeah, we do. Will that take us down to the south tunnel? An overclocked turret. There definitely were sections like this in Fallout 3. Let's go ahead and turn on the flashlight. And like this, I almost will assume it will be almost exactly like this. Exact same style of floor plan and layout. This could be a spookier experience. Though I'm so overpowered, nothing could be too spooky. The real question, I guess, is just here we have yet another shielded area we can't access yet. So we will have to come back later. I guess this was the idea. That the human was trying to protect themselves with the overclocked turret, which has exploded and left no remnants, as they do. So yeah, small chance this tunnel links us to some other location. Big Mountain North Tunnel maybe goes to a Big Mountain South Tunnel, or maybe that is just the way you get out of the whole area. Locally, seems like we missed something. I already picked up and found a holotape. Here. It would be kind of strange if there was another holotape and then I'm missing it this poorly. These aren't like miscellaneous things. Yeah, this allows you to make a barter skill book. I don't know what my barter skills are at though. And this is where a guide might be very useful if all of a sudden you find out you could have just built a whole bunch of barter skill books to get your barter up, and then you could have been putting points into energy weapons or explosives otherwise. Okay. I'm going to have to just assume that I picked up the item, so let's walk out here and see what the map shows now. I am here. If we remove our marker, then there's two spots here and here. Is there a good justification to investigating places at the moment? I don't think so. I think it probably is. You can see that armor shot.
All fertilizer, including fecal matter. This does not give you license to excrete on it.
Okay, so that's not working. These guys are too heavily armored. Am I damaging myself by throwing grenades? Yes. yeah, that's not working either. It's not particularly super fair to walk out of a room and be attacked. If I was in a very poor position, I'm also running out of bullets here. The unfortunate possibility here is it feels like I may see misfortune on a few occasions and it still may not be good enough visually. Like, we may never get a nice visual presentation of misfortune or a better understanding of whether her included content is useful or not. And this sonic gun is just so useless. I think doing this quest next makes a lot more sense. So let's go to the hazmat testing ground, which we were overburdened when we were last here. Hopefully we can avoid too much danger. This was a thing in Fallout 3 where there was an occasional desk in the middle that you would have to have platformed to, which also highlights where being overburdened becomes too large of a detriment. Hazmat suit containment unit. Interesting. So there's going to be something more where we're going to come back and activate this hazmat suit. And I don't know if we're going to wear it or if something else is going to happen. Moving on. There's still too many boxes in this world that you can't open. And definitely a case where there just aren't enough. Okay, I'm seeing some pylons finally. So need to work our way up this way. There's just not enough item drops from the enemies that are useful. Way too much item drops that are not useful. Feels like they're treating Night Stalkers here just like they are what dogs evolved into, which I'm not sure that's the idea. I'm not sure if coyotes actually exist in this game. I think I saw some coyotes once, but I may have just called them coyotes and they may have been labeled as Night Stalkers. too weak. Well, I was not expecting it to break completely. Well, we're in trouble now. So we're just going to have to use this gun. Just unload entire clips. We do have a challenge to do damage with submachine guns also, but these challenges actually reset anyway, so you have a challenge to do everything. It's just an excuse to maybe encourage the players to play the same way consistently, which actually makes no sense at all. As far as why would you encourage the players to play with the same style of weapons when you should be doing the exact opposite of that? I definitely don't think I'm getting enough caps to just buy batteries or buy bullets. Is this really supposed to be a case where they're running away?
Time to reward myself with a little refreshing mentat.
More characters being addicted to things like mentats would have made more sense in the game. Let's go ahead and see, I don't think the knives here are anywhere as valuable as the police batons. 70 versus 17, yeah. Let's see if we can find the entrance. Also, guess we will just hotkey Sunset Sarsaparillas. Okay, here we are. Not really in a great position. Begin the institutional test at X8 test terminal. Complete travel X8 research center. Initiate the institutional data retrieval test at the X8 test terminal. Seems like that maybe repeated itself. The things I need here are in this test you will take on the role of an evil commies, infiltrate an institution of honest American learning. Don't worry citizens, it's just for pretend. Your objective is to steal documents that a real dirty commutator, which you're not, could use to brainwash our children, which you wouldn't do. This test will help us to protect our children's fragile minds from agents of international communist agents like you. Just kidding, we know you're loyal Americans, aren't you? Let's see. But they won't know about the cyber dogs until they actually begin the test. One, test engage cyber dog protection protocols alongside standard automated turret system. Test B, add protectrons to previous test. Test B includes some basic tests for field disruptor capacitance module. Please do not enter the residential cyberdog test area or conduct any experiments using it. The cyberdogs are still being programmed, and any disturbance could have a dramatic influence on their progress. Okay. Looks like we also have some organs floating in jars. And here we have somebody or something getting cut up. Although, why would it be bloody? This probably would have been a long time ago. Or you would assume it could have been. So this is how Securitrons, I guess, get made. Is they chop up people and put their brains in robots' bodies. Final caps, toys, vacuum cleaners, mentats, scrap electronics. You know what I would have expected here. Several brains in jars. Would have expected there to be a crafting section. This says level 1 splicing test area. So let's go see what the other one says. This one has a dead lobotomite. And this is level 2. This is gonna take a while. So I basically need a gun runner's arsenal gun. Otherwise, you're just gonna pull so much bullets, waste so much bullets. Remember, I'm playing on very easy. But it is worth also mentioning that I guess we could increase our damage with different kind of bullets. Somewhat. Yeah. I don't know if this game has perhaps incorrectly balanced itself to me being at such a high level, or if this is the first time I've actually seen what the intended balance was, and very easy otherwise. In the main game is just really easy. Wait, is programmed wrong. Human dog splicing. Oh, so that's what these lobotomites probably are, is that these Securitrons are, is that it's half a human brain in a robot dog. Ah, I see. I see the visual storytelling and other storytelling that they're trying to show. And here we have a casket, which is interesting, creepy. So they were digging up bodies to get human brains. Seems like this is going somewhere else. And I imagine if I read some more of that, that probably would tell me some interesting hints instead of just pretending like I was reading it. When we activate this, it starts moving around. If we were to jump up over here, though it seems like it just pushes you, it doesn't actually hurt you. Which I was kind of expecting it to hurt you. So it said don't go into the kennel. Seems like we need a key to go in the kennel. I'm pretty sure we got everything of interest here. Let's see what happens if we activate this terminal. Retrieve 3 student files from an average high school. Basic security protocols have been activated. Successfully retrieve 3 student files. Failure. Security measures prohibit you from retrieving the files. Okay. So, did the whole building just move? I think it did.
Attention, students. This is the pre-recorded voice of your pre-recorded principal, Dr. Principal Boros. You may know me as the head chief first researcher of Labs C9 and C14. There I fought valiantly
So
to
we have
preserve rattlesnake
a
DNA
whole high
and
school.
put it right where it belongs, in the husk of another feared predator. Oh, and the tarantula hook. Can't splice enough, I always say. Especially if you can make a magnificent cazador. Enough about me. It has come to my attention that many of you seemingly innocent children have been subverted by red propaganda. This is a most serious matter, requiring the most serious of detention. Can you spell detention? I'll tell you how I spell it.
What's funny is that Misfortune outfit is just like way more interesting in an outfit than you see anybody else wearing.
They will sniff out which among you have chosen the commie path. Especially you.
You're gonna have to
Who turned me down to the high school dance so you could smoke.
you're gonna have to come back here with our disruptor to shoot these shields.
Step outside during class, and they'll make sure you make a speedy jump back to your desk. Hold your urine and wait for the proper bathroom break time.
So this is an interesting section because it brings about something that has become taboo many years after this, which was school shooting simulators, or things that even could be claimed to be school shooting simulators. Yeah, there is basically no more will, as far as game development, to set any levels in any game where you're shooting guns inside a inside of a school, just because in the United States the rise of school shootings just became a lot higher, and every single school shooting being blamed on video games under the most ridiculous, dubious reasons, literally because the National Rifle Association in the United States told its supporters to blame video games and just distract by blaming video games. Ironically, the number of video games that most school shooters have played is always significantly below average. You'll have one person that said they played Pac-Man once, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're they played a bunch of violent video games. Whereas the average kid and gamer kid, which is most average kids, plays considerably more video games. Not to make light of anything, but there is an argument to be made that the average activities that an average kid does as part of their socialization and growing up and being part of the included and feeling included. So an outsider in modern times would be a kid that doesn't play video games, not one who does. I believe this is probably a bigger mission than I thought I was going to have. And I don't know if the building really did change. We are getting a real dungeon equivalent now. Of course, this could also be fairly small. This is also interesting in that the game of New Vegas hasn't really been saying much about the Red Scare, Communist Scare, that is typically in the other Fallout games pre-war. And I imagine that they will at some point want to de-emphasize communists being considered bad guys in future Fallout games, just in the hopes that Fallout games would sell in China. Yeah, it definitely was a thing that would happen a lot more, though, that you would have creepy horror sections set in schools, or you'd have, yeah, usually it's always a creepy horror section set in school. Midterm grade report for Richie Marcus. Should take the fresh apples. How they're fresh, who knows? There was a turret, I believe, in here that I reprogrammed to kill some dogs. I think that's the general idea of what I did. We're very much over encumbered. Okay, so we have a hull monitor. So I guess if you cross the line, the hull monitor may have shot at you if I hadn't reprogrammed it. Now, one thing I can definitely see could be a problem here is that we could have way too many lockers to search. And if this is supposed to be a high school, I'll get the toy cars. Getting a bunch of Wonder Glue with nothing to really do but the Wonder Glue. Seeing a lot of cigarettes. I wonder what triggered that. Maybe it literally was just a case that my stealth and sneak was so high it took them that long to recognize I was there. Or maybe it's just really random. We have another shielded section. Here's what the United States flag was pre-war. So it definitely implies that there would have been more than 50 states. And certainly none of it really falls in line with what the current day feels like. It is believable at some points that a resource wars would happen, and maybe if you ran out of petroleum and then everything had to be nuclear because of that, maybe that would lead to just a mental embracing of nuclear technology. But there is almost also a fatalistic mentality that's embraced, in which everybody in the United States is very pro-gun. And certainly they could have gone that way. There could have been guns being handed out left and right to the students at school. There are other schools in this game, but the elementary schools being empty just aren't as dangerous as a high school. Bake sale. Custom textures. It's kind of a shame. You've got all these like custom designs and there's only so much you can do with it. I don't know why there's lobomites in here. It really should just be dogs. Unless they consider the dogs to be... the lobomites to be dogs. You can see their pathfinding is particularly bad. You know what, I probably should pick up pre-war books because maybe I need the pre-war books to turn them into skill books. I'm not sure. Plus I'm already over encumbered, so there's kind of no point to it. Here you can see that there's a whole another floor, which seems like that's a place you can reach. And it isn't just an observation deck. And I'm not going to have that extra sense skill, which would let me just look around to try and find the valuable items in an area. Because that was the dog that gave me that skill, I think. Yeah. Making a new Fallout game, you definitely would want to just have a new version of the Pip-Boy that lets you autocraft things wherever you are. Because there's just no reason why you couldn't pull up the menu and craft items directly from the menu. If anything, we're really at the point where turning on automations where picking up certain ingredients would automatically be crafted into something. So that's another student's information. And certainly you can have automations where you would repair specific items with other items to get the most amount of money out of it, instead of me having to figure out whether I want to play in the menu for 20 minutes. So it definitely feels like if I had the disruptor, that would have just dropped the dangerously low weapon condition. Can't really do anything about it while I'm being attacked. So it feels like what I need is weapon repair kits. I don't know why that we would have. Imagine a cleaver is worth more than a knife is. Value 20, value 17, yeah, slightly more. Lead pipe is worth more than that, so let's just do that. 75. May just have to use a lead pipe as a weapon. Yeah, I have no idea why my weapons are damaging so much. Let's just check something here. Gameplay. Difficulty, very easy. Hardcore mode off. Yep. Could have had the flashlight on this whole time, sorry. And you can't just cook on the oven. This might be a case where it is intentionally walled off and nothing will turn off the shields until we've done the whole area. And probably at this point, I'd say we should end the episode, but let's see if we can get through this section and find a nice spot. Have to dive towards the body before it rolls down the stairs. Would expect a lot of this. That's not Brotherhood of Steel, by the way. That the power armor there would be the US Army originally. Brotherhood of Steel claims to be part of the original US Army, but I don't know if there's enough evidence to really believe that, and I'm not sure it really matters. Once the entire US government collapses, the army also is then pretty much collapsed down to just being a pack of what would be a good word to use? Vigilantes. I'd imagine maybe it's because I'm getting attacked with so many sonic attacks. Up to 366 pounds, we can only carry 200 without being over encumbered. And certainly an experience like this would be almost a breeze if you had an over encumbered mod that would just allow you to carry anything you wanted to carry. Blessed. So 4 are corrected blessed. So we know mutated is not correct. No, loyalty can't be cracked. Cleared. What happens if you failed to hack this? Well, nothing, because that was just the turret control on the shielded spot. Now we can see a Securitron in there, but I don't know if that's not actually an observation deck. Teddy bears in the high school. This is an average lock, but trying to force it would only have a 60% chance of forcing it open. We have a lot of... Yeah, I don't think you can even do anything with dirty water. It would make a lot of sense if you could purify dirty water with using Radix in some kind of cooking scheme. So I guess the idea here is that this is a janitor's closet full of drugs. Nothing behind the door. Never is. Looks like you can take a shortcut on the way down. Can't take any of these trophies. Can't read what that says. Think we're close to being done. Alright, and I would just say this isn't really that scary. And I don't know how you could make it particularly that scary.
Down at the end of the hall is ball storage for jocks who like balls. Richie likes balls.
Another sex joke, I believe. Which, at this point, I would suspect somebody else wrote the story for this DLC. It's probably something that should be applauded, because I didn't really appreciate or even care what was being said. Here we have Mobius written here. Yeah, I just didn't really care what was being said in the main game at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Mobius is actually the brains. That they went crazy and created a copy of themselves or something along that lines. Some kind of weird sci-fi twist. Golf balls. We haven't seen any of those in the main game. Maybe. Baseball bat. Basketball. A lot of pre-war money all over the place. Take one of those. Cue balls. So if you ever needed one of each of the balls, this is probably the place. A lot of cigarettes all over the place too. Okay. down. These cinematic kills are slowing down the game even more. So we do know that there is at least one section in here that is behind a fence, a force field. I think it's probably close.
You got to the residential test. This is really Boros, by the way. Hello again. None of us thought you would get this far.
So, yeah. Whole bunch of stuff here. And we have some kind of design. I think we're probably pretty safe in this area just to grab everything. This is gonna let you refill your bullets somewhat. Let's see what's in this terminal. And a lot of custom art. But seems like the schematic would be here. That you would just touch this hologram or something. Instead, the quest is telling me to go back. And I'm just so over encumbered, it's not even realistic to even try to fix this. Okay, so we need to begin the advanced institutional test. Also, that will let us upgrade the sonic weapon, at least that's the hope, which, yeah, he's totally broken, so I'm not sure that there's too much I can even do. Certainly could try to reduce some stuff here. But only so far. All this pre-war stuff is going to be less valuable than 200. The mask and goggles. Probably more valuable than masks and goggles combined. Let's ask that question. 150 for the mask, 260 for mask and goggles. So we should do that. And then the jumpsuit. It's 124. While we're at it, it might be useful to repair my own stuff. I am now taking a lot less damage. And so I appreciate that. But we're at like 374. Worldwide, we need to upgrade our disruptor and then go back and dump everything in the next episode. And then maybe with the disruptor upgrade, we should just fast travel to each of these potential locations that we've already visited to see if there was a shielded spot that needed to be disrupted that would have led to something more. Overall, we've probably done a third to a quarter of this whole map. It's not a very big map, quest-wise. There is still other things. Activate the institutional data retrieval test is a sub-part of these two things. An X8 High School of Horror and initiate the residential Cyberdog guard test. Yep. So yeah, there's 3 quests at the X8 locations. There's secondary quests to get more abilities for your house, which you should really have been told to do this first, because getting all these abilities after you've potentially finished the whole main game is going to be ridiculous. X2 and X13 are probably going to expand to some more quest elements too, unless X8 does just turn out to be the biggest location. Yeah, probably isn't, but it could be one of the bigger locations. XP wise, we are not in a bad position, really. We still are unlikely to increase our special by too much, and with every level up we can put up our stats a little bit higher. Now I guess when I think about it, we're probably not going to get a whole bunch of interesting perks though, and with the other quests for the other DLC, yeah, there is a possibility here that Happy Trails Expedition, Sierra Madre Grand Opening, and the Reunion give me enough levels to get to the max level. It should happen. I hope it happens, but it will. There's also a possibility that I'll, even before that, have all of my skills at 100%, which is not exactly the same as having all of your specials at 10, but it's very close to that. And it's certainly not anywhere close to having all the perks, which, yeah, there desperately needed to be a new game plus feature in this setup so that you could take your character data and play a little bit more to unlock things. Anyways, this has been a longer episode, so let's end it here. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.